And welcome back, guys, to an episode of the Geek Centurions. It's me, your boy Eli.
It's me, Joe.
And we are here to talk about Black Adam, the newest DC film to come out, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the man himself,
When's the last time we've talked about a DC movie?
the Batman.
That was that was
Earlier this year.
Well,
Earlier this year.
it's interesting because this is within the more or less established DCEU. So I think so when it comes to that, I think it's been a while.
It has been a while. But yeah, no. We are here to talk about the newest film. There will be no spoilers, so but we'll be talking about stuff that you will probably, if you see the movie, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Because it's Black Adam was a interesting experience to me.
It was. Whether it was good or not, that depends on what we say the next few minutes. And also, what your thoughts on it? Because it's been getting, from my understanding, mixed reception.
I think rightfully so.
Right? Yeah. No. After seeing, I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Essentially, the story of Black Adam is that he was before Shazam. He was the first guy. He was chosen, and by the people,
The wizards
themselves, and he had to use his power to fight off against basically the bad people.
Yeah, who were in cahoots with some demons.
Demons.
It's always demons.
Well, I mean, in Shazam, it was the 7 deadly sins. Here, it's the embodiment of hell itself.
Yeah, it's just a whole cabal of demons that are like, hey, listen. Because there's this whole, I think, we start with a friggin' maybe 3 minute long introduction of Black Adam's origin, essentially. We have a kid narrating the whole thing. And they're like, hey,
this is what happened.
Yeah, big bad evil king wanted to summon some demons. Kid gets chosen, stops them, and that's sort of the end of the story.
Yeah.
And we jump to modern day in this sort of not exactly the Middle East, but it's vaguely the Middle East thing. They call it Kondak. Yeah. So.
Which is overrun by Intergang, which is in the comics is sort of like basically think of every evil secret organization.
Yeah, they sort of say it's like a mercenary group.
Yeah,
and they've taken control of the city or whatever. Mm-hmm. And yeah, people were just living oppressed and stuff, and we're following this lady. I forget her name.
I can look it up real quick, but it's not. It's not English, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, granted, I don't think they say it a whole lot. She has a son and her brother. Basically, she's like an archaeologist who's trying to find, who's trying to help out.
Adriano Tomas.
Yeah, and so she's just trying to help out. Stuff gets crazy, and she accidentally summons Black Adam.
Yeah.
She brings him back, and the whole movie sort of the consequences of that, hey, this new super powered individual is out running about, doesn't really know what he's doing. Is he a hero? Is he a villain? People have varying opinions about that, as there's the hidden MacGuffin of the crown and all that stuff. And that's sort of where the movie kind of goes in its own little journey, just seeing where Black Adam, seeing him decide who he wants to be, basically. That's sort of the main overarching story of it. Because he is very, he's a very interesting character.
Yeah, he's a very interesting character. The whole tagline is, he's not a hero, he is an anti-hero. And so you're going to see him do anti-heroic things. And obviously, that grounds the attention of the side of America, which is going to be Hawkman, Doctor Fate. This happens to me all the time. That's what happens when you have similar names. God damn it, Marvel, you and DC. Also, we have the Atom Smasher and
Cyclone.
I thought it was weird, personally, that we're introducing the Justice Society, because they were the precursor to the Justice League in the comics.
Even though technically the Justice League is a thing in the DCEU, so they're I'm guessing a splinter group because they definitely work with Amanda Waller to some extent. They're not, they're not the Suicide Squad. We're like, hey, listen, do what I say or you die. It's very much, hey, I see there's a this Black Adam guy running around. You guys want to check that out? Yeah, we'll check it out.
Yeah, and I guess this is what we're starting, like, the 1-minute review, and then go into further our explanation.
Yeah,
as to what is, like, what our thoughts on this movie, and like we said, it's an interesting one. Jay, how about you start us off? Give us your all your thoughts on this on Black Adam, starting now.
Black Adam is probably one of the more mixed bagged superhero movies I've seen in a while. While The Rock does well in his role as Black Adam, the plot of this movie just kind of goes around everywhere, and it's definitely a moment where it feels like the movie has wrapped up, but it sort of takes its final 30-minute big action explosion because that's what all movies need nowadays. There's solid acting from some characters. Other characters don't really have character. Some acting is kind of good. Some acting is kind of cringe. And there's just a whole lot of, like I said, very mixed bagged movie for me. But if you're a fan of The Rock or you're a fan of superhero nonsense, I guess you can have fun with this movie. You don't, there's no bigger arching narrative thing. But if you're looking for more, I guess nuanced takes, especially with the whole plot of what makes a hero, what makes a villain, I don't think this is it.
You went a little over, but you got it.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with what you said. I'm about to give my thoughts right now. Black Adam feels like a movie that was made back when it was originally intended to come out. This feels like we just went 2 steps backwards with the DC films in terms of quality. If you're thinking about something as good as, say, the recent Suicide Squad movie, this is not it. I do agree that it's a mixed bag. A lot of the acting can be good in some areas. I feel Pierce Brosnan is one of the more better actors in this film, but there's also some characters I feel like really just needed a better take, or it's held back by the writing. The effects are decent enough as what you come to expect. I think this is the embodiment also of what people tend to think comic book movies are, or the stigma of them. Sadly, I would say that this movie doesn't live up to what I expected it to be, even if it was just kind of not that much.
Man, right on time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
where do we start?
Yeah, where do we start?
Where do we start on this to further this discussion?
I guess we can talk a little bit about The Rock's performance. I think he did fine.
Yeah, no, I do. I was talking about Pierce Brosnan, but also I would also agree to the fact that The Rock is probably one of the better roles. He does carry the movie in a little bit of sense, but also it's because he's gonna have to be stoic, and Rock can do stoic. He is the reason why he's the most electrifying man of all sports entertainment.
Yep. Yeah, he has he has the charisma to do all the stuff. I think he did a fine job. Yeah, and I won't lie. I completely during that movie, I completely forgot Pierce Brosnan was Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
I won't, because there was a moment I think towards that end of the movie where I'm like, this guy reminds me of James Bond a little bit, and you're like, yeah, because he was James Bond. That's Pierce Brosnan. I'm like, and wait, what? And I looked at when the end credits were coming, oh shit, Pierce Brosnan was in this movie. He was. I guess he was Dr. Fate.
There's a reason why I was like, I'm gonna hold back before you say anything else. And but no, I thought Pierce Brosnan is probably one of the more better. Well, I mean, he's one of the standout actors of this film, along with The Rock. So obviously they're going to be the some of the more notable ones. But I think the story itself does not, service either character. So it's kind of I wouldn't say tragic, but it's kind of a letdown to see that these guys who could do a better job aren't given the best quality of what they have.
Yeah, not obviously. I don't think I want to get too into it, but probably one of the biggest things about this movie was the villain.
Yeah, the villain
Like the villain is such a non-character, you know.
it's really not a non-character. There's really nothing to latch onto. There isn't really much of a reason aside from I am evil. Boo-ha-ha.
Yeah, like like it's like maybe like the one thing because there's always like these common criticisms of you know, say Marvel or DC, you know, DC in recent years being too dark and gritty and like no fun, Marvel being too happy go lucky, villains aren't that, you know, interesting except for like couple. And here it feels like, you know, like the criticism of like the villains not being that interesting fits this movie so well, you know, because he's just such a non-character. I'm like, okay, he's evil because he wants to be. There's not really much good motivation for this guy, you know. I don't know. It just you're kind of just like, okay, I guess you're the villain. Okay, all right, sure, I guess.
What do you want? Power? All right.
Sure, cool.
Nothing, and I'm not asking like for like say like Killmonger, Thanos, Riddler, or any of the more recent like you know vaguely improved like written villains. This one just isn't like there's nothing really to latch onto, and like it's funny because like it was intended to be a twist.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and, like it is kind of granted, like it was kind of a twist on a twist. You know what I mean?
Yes, it was.
Because the character in question was already a bit of a twist villain. You'll figure it out fairly early on. Like I don't think I'm spoiling anything, but like there is a character very early on that does the twist, and you're like, okay, I guess you're a bad guy now. Okay, cool. And then it turns out double twist. He's actually has some you know connections or whatever, and he's like, this is the real reason why he's a villain. I'm like, really? That's it? That's the reason why you okay, I guess.
All right.
I mean,
sure. All right.
Not really that compelling at all. But yeah, like I do think like this story needed some sort of like
there's too much going on, like you said yourself, because you have Black Adam who's just came back, and then his whole like this is my story, and you know I'm kind of keeping it vague. But honestly, if you're all put two and two together, you kind of figure out real quick what's going on.
Yeah, honestly, like you can kind of figure out Black Adam's main twist fairly early on if you're just paying attention to the monologue in the beginning.
Yeah,
a little bit. But yeah, and also you know when it comes to the Justice Society being like, you're evil, Black Adam. We got to stop you. We got to put you. You know, like hey, listen, just you know. That sort of plot line, and then there's the stuff with the crown, and then you know if you feel like I said earlier, like it feels like everything wraps up, like probably. Then it turns out no, wait, we still got a couple minutes left. Bring on the third act, explosions thing, because that's what every superhero movie needs. So,
you remember how in She-Hulk there was the joke about Kevin? How he's like a robot and he's just following the
whatever cells and stuff, and it's like, oh yes, we for the finale we need big action happening
because that's what makes money.
Yeah,
that's how it felt.
Yeah, I won't lie, that's definitely what it feels too. Granted, it feels like it's kind of a thing with some DC movies. Like, remember the first Wonder Woman?
Oh yeah.
Where you know where you feel like that movie could have ended a little bit. After the whole where she kills the evil guy and it turns out it wasn't Ares, and you know like Chris Pine has that whole scene of like, well, some people do bad because you know because of reasons, all right, like there's no like you know hidden force or whatever kind of thing, and you feel like that could have been maybe a solid end of the movie.
Well, yeah, because like Chris Pratt was
Pine.
Chris Pine. God damn it!
So many Chris's.
God damn.
Stop naming your kids Chris.
God damn. But Chris Pine's like whole line was well, you can argue being really cheesy and really kind of like dumb, but it makes sense in the context of what's going on, especially to someone like Wonder Woman.
And in the scenario of the plot of like this is World War One, it's always been treated a bit more morally gray than say World War Two in terms of media and stuff. So yeah, that does seem to,
especially since like in like I was gonna say in the movie Wonder Woman's kind of like I wouldn't say a child, but like She has this like
naive,
very naive, and it's like if I kill the villain, everything's gonna be okay. The war's gonna end.
Yeah.
Peace among. But it's like it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
It's and Chris Pine, it's like monologue is that yeah, humans are kind of shitty, but there's also like really good things about people, and like that's that's the point of living. That's the point of like fighting and all that stuff. And it's like you get it because like that's why he sacrifices his life.
Yeah,
cause for just for a fighting chance or like for hope, which is very nice. Where were we going with this?
No, I was saying that like and then that movie gets plot twist. Ares is real. He's the
Oh yes, he orchestrated the whole plot.
Yeah, like it's real. I've orchestrated the whole thing, and now I'm going to kill you. Big action explosion scene. Let's go. And it's like,
what was the point of that?
Yeah, it's very similar to this because I won't lie. I was kind of actually a little bit confused. I'm like, wait, is that it?
No, there was a moment where you're not. Where I was like, oh, this is wrapping up. This is weirdly wrapping up. Not like good.
Like, but it's like, okay, I guess this is an ending. I mean, it's different. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's not a big like. It's different. I'll give it that. Yeah, you're right. And then like plot twist.
It's like, oh god damn it.
Yeah, remember that little thing over there?
Turns out, villain plan in motion already. Let's go. And it's
I was thinking 10 steps ahead the whole time.
And it's like, all right, then.
I was literally like, I think I saw you groan a bit.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the plot is definitely they really needed another pass through or something. Because I think one of the other big plot points, or like rather morals, I guess, of the movie is because Black Adam is an anti-hero, so there's this whole thing where it's like, I'm not a hero, blah 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 blah, and like characters like, well, like it's like they have this half-baked attempt of arguing what makes.
You mean the thing that had annoyed me throughout the whole movie?
Yeah.
So like, obviously the Justice Society is a thing. Hawkman is a very by the books kind of character. And so what his whole thing is that his problem with Black Adam is like, you're going around killing people. That's not right. And the counter argument is like, but you're not doing anything. You're not saving us at all. You're just sitting there letting them live and stuff. You didn't help us out at all. Where were you the whole time? He's here to help us out. And I'm just like, okay, seems like a very interesting idea that we're going with. Okay, where we go? Okay, we're going nowhere. We're just spouting to the wind. No counter arguments. No, I'm not asking for a goddamn debate in the middle of a movie, but it's like, you have these themes going on and you're not doing anything with them or this conversation, and it leads nowhere.
Yeah, because throughout that entire time of like seeing that like this is like gonna be a thing with the movie, I just kept thinking back to the conversation in the Daredevil season 2 with Daredevil and Punisher. That's a perfect conversation of like what makes those two characters different, why they believe they want to believe, like why does the Punisher kill, why does Devil not kill, that constant argument like, is it right for us to kill the bad guys kind of thing. But no, we don't have that. It's more very much like
screw you.
Yeah, like there isn't much of an argument. Like there's maybe one line that kind of feels like it's going to be the start of like the debate, but it really isn't. But yeah, it's just a weird like through line that just doesn't really go anywhere other than just like a couple lines of like, he can do these things because he's not a hero, and that's what makes him cool. Well, not cool, but
that's what we like about him. And I'm like, really? Because like I feel, even comparing it to say Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah. Like
it's a little more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Like something like that should be a little more complicated than it being just as black and white as they try to make it out to be. Because like there's literally a moment where one of the characters is like, for you it's all black and white, but for things it's much more morally gray. Okay, so how is it morally gray?
Never explains herself.
Never explains herself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can talk a little bit about some of the characters. Speaking of Hawkman, you saying he's very by the books. He's also very flat as a character. Not really much goes on with Hawkman.
No.
I mean, he's cool looking. Once again, the DC movies are sort of making their characters look cool, like Aquaman and stuff. I'm guessing because most people were kind of like, wait, Hawkman's a thing? He's just a guy with a hawk mask and can fly and has a mace? I guess that's neat.
Yeah.
Although at the same time, I feel like people who grew up with like the Justice League cartoon know, hey, Hawkgirl's a thing and she's cool.
And she is one of the cool characters too. There's a lot of stuff around those characters that can be a little confusing, but no, it's usually just kind of like very straightforward and very understandable. Kind of, you can just easily just dumb it down easily. But no, there's really much nothing to go with, just to be like more of an antagonistic figure towards Black Adam, and it's funny sometimes. Sometimes it's like, just shut up, both of you.
Yeah, because
not just you, Hawkman. Black Adam, you shut up.
Yeah, because it kind of gets into a little bit of a dick measuring contest at a certain point.
Oh yeah, no, that's what it. Yeah.
Where it's like, screw you, no, screw you. And it's like, I'll fight you. And that's it. Like, there's like a point where like they just start fighting and, Dr. Fate's just sitting in a chair just like, I'm just going to let this play out. Not really my thing.
Also making more collateral damage.
Yeah, and it's just like, bro, like, you're on it. Like, it feels like these characters like, hey, the Justice Society always comes in, does some collateral damage, and just leaves. This is some bullshit. And it's like, well, Black Adam started this, and now there's collateral damage. Well, what the hell?
I would argue he made more collateral damage.
Yeah, so yeah, it's such a weird, like a weird take.
Yeah. He's also kind of powered it down a bit. Same thing with Pierce Brosnan's Dr. Fate. It feels a little bit of a power down compared to what he's like normally is in the comics.
Yeah, because I feel like Dr. Fate has always been just
a tier above.
Yeah, a tier above, and when it comes to stuff with like magic and stuff, like he's like just he does a bunch of crazy ass shit.
Yeah, just as crazy or even more crazy as Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so just to see him just like do a little bit of magic stuff here and there, like that isn't like, I don't know. It's like, okay, I guess this is neat, but it's kind of weird because he's like, I think he says it himself. It's like, I'm not strong enough to take you on, but it's like, okay, that's interesting. As someone that I feel like at least knows a little bit about some of these characters, I'm like, I feel like you're way more powerful than you're letting on, Dr. Fate, but I guess that's fine.
Maybe because you're old.
Maybe it is because you're old. He said he's lived through like 100 years.
Mm-hmm. The other two characters, Cyclone and Atom Smasher, I'll let you take that one.
I mean, they're all right. Cyclone is, I think we discussed, she is a little bit of just, hi, I'm the girl of the group. But she does have her own thing. Like, she, they try to hype her up. It's like, yeah, she's super smart, this and that, stuff. And, that's fine. But she still is kind of just treated as just, I'm the girl.
I'm there.
Yeah, like, and, yeah, she has cool powers and stuff. And I think they even try to delve a little bit into her backstory. But it's very glossed over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just feels like, oh yeah, this is the reason why I have my powers and stuff. And yeah, something kind of messed up happened to me when I was young. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it's fine. We're not going to talk about it anymore? Nope. Okay then.
Even with Atom Smasher, who like is in this iteration is the second one, he doesn't really do much. He's just kind of I think we were talking about
goofball.
Yeah, we were talking about this on the way back. You were saying he was like just a big doofball, like the doofus. And he really kind of just like messes up more than not.
Yeah, like he's constantly like, it's my first time doing superhero stuff, and it's, oh no, I tripped. Oh, I accidentally knocked down the statue. Oops.
Which I'm like, why is he here?
And there's like this like granted it happens twice, but it's just like him and Hawkman just like, hey, you and me, when we get back, you and me, and it's like, yes sir, and it's like, I mean, I guess that's supposed to be funny, but
It's not funny until the third time.
and you didn't do it the third time.
No, you didn't.
But yeah, it's just such a bizarre. You know, they're not much character to them.
No, there's really nothing much to them. Which is kind of sad because if you feel like the Justice Society, while like not being the Justice League, should be like at least like something there. Like there should have been something there for you to latch onto.
Yeah, because I feel like they mentioned like their whole thing is like we try to keep order in like international affairs and kind of thing, and I think that's what's supposed to make them different from the Justice League.
Yeah,
We're like, oh yeah, we're like the the guys that go in to stop the big threats and stuff when they happen, but the Justice Society is more of like we try to maintain the peace, you know, and if we can't, then yeah, sure, bring in the Justice League. Which I guess that's what they're gonna go with this iteration, but yeah, it does feel weird because the Justice Society was like the first iteration before the Justice League. So I don't know. It feels like if they were to do something like say Thunderbolts as like the first like team up thing for Marvel, even though like then later on it's like I don't know. I don't know where I was going to go with this. Like, it feels like they're being put up on a pedestal. Like, it's weird having them both at the same time. I guess. And while like Marvel doesn't really have that kind of thing, at least in terms of the comics, I'm pretty sure. Like, there wasn't like a first ever team up. You know.
It's like it's like this. It's like if they introduced the Fantastic Four in a time they've always been around before the Avengers, or around the same time as the Avengers.
Yeah, I guess, you know, we're like, hey, we're the Fantastic Four. We've been here since the Avengers showed up. And it's like,
where the hell have you guys been?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell? But yeah, it's certainly interesting how they handle that. I think some of the side characters, like the son, is definitely a character.
Oh, he annoyed the hell out of me.
Yeah, and I do not blame you. He is a. I don't want to blame it on the actor himself.
No, I don't either. I think the actor himself could be good, but let's just say that the writing again does not give him much to do.
Yeah, like I think the lines and the direction he was given just really makes him just kind of annoying.
And so much of it is
like he's supposed to be like a superhero fanboy or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's constantly like just trying to make black him like be like, oh yeah, say a catchphrase, you know, like we need you to be, you know, you should, you know, like you should be a superhero. You can get like
compared it to Terminator 2's relationship.
Yeah, in fact, I feel like something I forgot to mention in my one review. Like it feels like a weirder version of Terminator 2 almost when you think about it. You have two characters who are like kind of you know, with the Terminator and the Black Adam who do bad things, but they kind of don't know that they're doing bad things almost. But while in Terminator, like, you know, John Connor's teaching the Terminator to be, you know, compassionate, to, you know, be a protector, to do heroic things, kind of thing. Just because, like, hey, you know, like, hey, that's not the right thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Here, the kid in this movie is very much like, yeah, you should do like superhero things. Say your catchphrase, you know, like, and all that stuff.
Maybe tell him I sent you.
Yeah, tell him the man in black sent you. But yeah, but you say before, you know, before you kill him, you know, just point that out. Okay, you know, and it's just like, okay, this is a little weird. You know,
his actions are very annoying, and then I'm like, man, you should have been dead 3 times over.
Yeah, considering all the shenanigans you've gotten yourself into at this point.
Yeah, this should have turned out a lot more worse than for you than it should have. But the thing about, so you're comparing it to Terminator 2, but the thing about Terminator 2 is that it was mostly just, you know, Arnold and the kid. It was mostly like this kid having like found a sort of father figure in the Terminator, and which is why the ending is such a sad scene, because it's like, oh, he lost his like surrogate father.
Yeah.
Here, it's none of that.
Even though it feels like it kind of might set up, because there's definitely a line where it's like, he's like, where the mom is like saying, "Hey, don't teach my son violence," and it's like, "Oh yes, you should let you. Yes, the father should be doing that." It's like, well, his father's dead, and you can't do that. It's like, oh, who should be teaching him then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be. Is he supposed to be a father figure? Because he doesn't seem like it.
No, he doesn't. There's not many moments he looks up to like Black Adam, but more of a superhero than anything else.
Yeah, he's like, you're like the coolest superhero ever. You know, you're here to protect our people. That's awesome.
Even though you cause so much collateral damage,
Doesn't matter. The bad guys are dead. Yeah.
it's like you're not even really proving your point. Yeah. Okay, that's a little too much of that.
A little bit too much. A little too much.
The mom herself is also just like a non sequitur in this whole thing. Like she's just kind of there to give exposition.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, she's an archaeologist, and she's more or less like, you know, she's just kind of there for a little bit. Like her whole thing is like, obviously once her son's in danger, it's like, hey, help my son, you know. But yeah, I agree. She's definitely just kind of like there, not really much going on with her. I mean, besides that, I mean, yeah, a lot of these characters, again, like besides, you know, Black Adam and say Dr. Fate. You know,
I would also add Hawkman into there because at least his interactions with Dr. Fate make him a little more interesting.
yeah, considering there does seem like it's very implied they have a history. You know, they've been. It's like, yeah, you know, Dr. Fate, I've been working with him a long time, trying to bring him back in, you know, help us out on this mission, you know. So, yeah, I agree. There is a bit of an interesting dynamic with them, I guess, where it's like, you're my old friend and most trustworthy partner. You would never let me down. Same thing to you, partner. But, yeah, it's just, I don't know, yeah. The characters are just, for the most part, are kind of bland, a little bit flat, not much there. I mean, we already talked a bit about the plot already and just how weird that is. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to talk about? Because I feel like the effects are fine for the most part. I don't really think.
I think we can talk about how I said this in my 1 minute. This movie feels like it was written like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah,
it feels like it was a step backwards for what they've been writing from since the last big DCEU movie. There's a lot of like things that would make sense if this was made at the time. There's also just like a lot of like slow-mo effects in the movie where places I don't feel like need slow-mo, and it kind of like just gets like annoying real quick, real fast. And it's almost like they took a page off of Zack Snyder, not to like dog shit him, but it's like these guys like looked at what he does and like, let's try to recreate that, but like without having any sort of ironically nuance as to how he does it. And I'm wondering if, considering that The Rock is a producer, did he have any involvement? Because he's been working really hard to make this movie happen. He might have had a hand into like what things played out. I don't know. This is me theorizing. Don't take my theories for you know. But it's just really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I don't know how much, say, like The Rock had in his roles in, like, say, the Fast and Furious. I don't know if there was any sort of conflicts there in terms of like.
There's a lot of conflicts.
But yeah, I do think you know, The Rock being a producer and just the way this movie turned out, because I remember. Because I think I actually looked it up a bit, that the whole process of this movie, you know, like, back when, like, I think it was, like, 2014, like, when they announced all this stuff. Like, when announced sort of, like, that initial slate of, like, DCEU stuff, and talking about Shazam, that, yeah, we're going to get The Rock to be Black Adam. And I think at the time I was like, okay, cool. He's gonna play the bad guy in the movie. That's cool. And it turns out, as we got closer to Shazam, I was like, okay. It turns out the Rock will not be in this movie. He will be in his own movie. And it's like, okay, cool. We're gonna get a Black Adam movie. There's a lot of character with that, you know. maybe we can like that way you can save up some like stuff for the second movie of Shazam. And not a lot to get into exposition with Black Adam. If he's getting his own movie, then it's like, all right, we can just fight. Then it turns out, no, like Black Adam's not going to be in the second movie, especially that we know now through like trailers and stuff for the second Shazam movie. He's like, okay, that's interesting. And it turns out, yes, there are talks now that The Rock wants to bring back Henry Cavill so that they can fight in a movie. And it's like, I feel like The Rock, once he got into the idea of Black Adam, read some comics, saw that Black Adam can fight Superman, and be like, I want to do that. I want to fight Superman. All right, let's get it done.
And it's not the first time that The Rock has had very big influence. Like I said earlier, with the Fast and Furious movies, there's like
they got he got his own spinoff with
just stay him.
Yeah, Stage to Stay Ham.
Just like a way for him to get away from Vin Diesel because they were feuding. But yeah, no, he still got his movie with Jason Statham, where it's very much like kind of centered around him.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I remember like there's a plot point where they go back to his home, with his Samoa roots and stuff, which The Rock is very proud of. I mean, heck, now that I think about it, if you remember, they fight Idris Elba, who's like this, like super enhanced like soldier. He straight up just calls himself "I'm Black Superman." And now that I think about it, now Dwayne The Rock Johnson wants to fight Superman as Black Adam.
He's getting what he wanted.
It comes full circle, and I can't believe The Rock played 4D chess with us all this time.
The man is a madman. He is a madman.
Yeah, but I kind of agree with you. I don't necessarily think The Rock used his producing credits to be like, we're gonna make this movie about me. I'm gonna be looking cool, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I think he definitely let everybody be like, hey, just make the story how you want to do it. But I definitely want to get this out because I think he likes the idea of playing an anti-hero like this. To make himself feel different from like say other superhero properties and whatnot. But yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I guess it would be it's an interesting coincidence to see all this stuff lining up, at least in terms of like how the production of Black Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? Maybe like part of the reason why it probably took a long time was because maybe the studio wasn't really that confident, but Dwayne The Rock Johnson decided, you know what? Let me be a producer on this. Let me put my own money to get this up and running. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, fine, let's do that. But yeah, as a whole, God, is there anything else to talk about? Because I feel like
no, that's about it. If just not to get into spoilers, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, I do think that this movie itself is kind of eh. I think that's what we both said when we got out. It's theater's like eh.
Yeah, I was. It's just a very. Like I said, it's a very mixed bag. There are parts that you could enjoy a little bit. I think like some of the action sequences. The Rock's performance, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. Those are all very like nice things to like look at and like be like have fun with. But like, there's just other things that just bog down the rest of this movie to be just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Like for me, it was that whole like the conversation about like the reason he's a hero is because he's willing to kill, unlike you guys, and it just leads nowhere. Or like the fact that it's like shaming them for not killing the people.
Yeah, I really want to see this lady try to take on Batman in a debate about what's right or wrong about killing people.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see where she like if her arguments hold weight against Batman.
Yeah,
or
no,
Superman.
yeah, no. If you want something like that, go watch Superman vs. the Elite. That sums up everything as to why that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it's just fine. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. There's just a lot of things I'm like, I'm not feeling this, man. It's not. Part of it has to do with the story. Part of it has to do with some characters. But yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, if I were to give a rating, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. You?
I would go 6.5.
Really? That bad?
Well, I mean, in my,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I differ in terms of a lot of critics and stuff. Because
Not to say you're contrarian.
not to say I'm a contrarian, obviously. I differ in terms of how I view the 10, the 1 to 10 rating scale. A lot of people sort of feel like, oh, once you get to 5, it's awful, and it's like, no, 5 is in between, is in the in between. 5 is 50%. So that to me is that is just pure unabashed mediocre. And for me, like a 6 is like, there's stuff that's like, yeah, this is interesting and stuff. But like I said, it's a mixed bag. There's probably stuff you could enjoy that would make you feel like, oh, this is like a 7, 7.5. But for me, the stuff that like weighs it down brings it down to like a 6. Like.
Yeah, no, I get that. That makes total sense. I would agree to that. But I mean, that's much I can say about Black Adam. I think I would look forward to a second one in terms of like who The Rock is gonna fight. I guess he wants to fight Superman, Henry Cavill. He might fight. He should be fighting Shazam. But
It really should be more of like a Superman Shazam team up to fight Black Adam.
There is a movie of that, so you can go check that out. But yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about the movie. But yeah, it's alright, guys. It's alright. Anyways, if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social medias. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're most active on Instagram at the Geek Centurions, and there you'll find a link to all the podcasting sites. We're officially part of like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. And a link to the YouTube where all your listeners out there can put a face to the voice. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on that on the YouTube. And we do have a Patreon for anyone who wants to support us in any form of way. And yeah, Black Adam. Well, we'll see you for the next DC movie.
Yeah, heck, what's the next DC movie? Is it Aquaman?
Is it either Aquaman or Flash?
Boy, when we get to the Flash,
that's gonna. Oof.
Boy, there's a lot of stuff to talk about when it gets to the Flash.
Oh yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we probably would have gotten Batgirl, right? But circumstances.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's me and boy Eli.
Me, Joe.
You guys have a good one. Peace.